Hey everyone, it's Miss Fountain. Let's take a look at points of view. This is page 406 in your textbook. Was manifest destiny justified? So justified. Was it fair? Was it done with a good reason? If it was not justified, it was unfair, or it was not done for a good reason. Let's look at some background. In 1845, a magazine editor declared that it was the manifest destiny of the United States to expand westward to the Pacific Ocean. Manifest destiny did have its opponents, however. Some Americans argue that the concept was simply justification for taking lands owned by weaker peoples. So we're going to look at this document here. Let's look at, this is from Albert Gallatin. And let me take a look at the picture right here. Here we have immigrants often packed their wagons so full they had to make the long trip on foot. And let's see. So we see some vocabulary words here. Subjugate, usurpation, immutable. So let's look at what those mean. Subjugate means to conquer, so to take over. Usurpation, an unjust seizing of power. So unjust, unfair. Seizing, to take. So to take power unfairly. Immutable, does not change. So this other word proffered will be for over here, so we'll come back to that in a minute. So whenever I'm reading a primary source document, a document written by someone from that time period, I make sure to read it multiple times. So the first time I'm just going to read it through, and then we'll start going through the information. And then here's the picture of Albert Gallatin. So he's the one who wrote this. It is said that the people of the United States have an hereditary superiority of race over the Mexicans, which gives them the right to subjugate and keep in bondage the inferior nation. Is it compatible with the principle of democracy, which rejects every hereditary claim of individuals, to admit an hereditary superiority of races? At this time, the claim is but a pretext for covering and justifying unjust usurpation and unbounded ambition. Among ourselves, the most ignorant, the most inferior, either in physical or mental faculties, is recognized as having equal rights, and he has an equal vote with anyone, however superior to him in all those respects. This is founded on the immutable principle that no one man is born with the right of governing another man. Albert Gallatin. Let's take a look at the question that goes with this. How does Gallatin use logic and inference to make those who want to take Mexico's land appear to be against democracy and un-American? So logic is reasoning. Inference, it's like an educated guess. You read it and maybe he's not saying something directly, but it's implied. You can infer that he means this. So let's take a look at this again. We're going to go paragraph by paragraph. It is said that the people of the United States have an hereditary superiority of race over the Mexicans, which gives them the right to subjugate and keep in bondage the inferior nation. So subjugate again means to conquer. So conquer, bondage, control. So he's saying it is said. So he's saying that other people are saying the United States is superior or better than people from the United States is better than people from Mexico. So that gives them the right to conquer them and to control them. So he's saying that's what some people say. But he's asking, is that compatible with the principle of democracy, government by the people? And he's saying, which rejects hereditary claim. He's saying democracy rejects that idea. So he's like, should we admit a hereditary superior races when it rejects hereditary claim? Democracy rejects that idea. So let's see. Is it compatible with the principle of democracy, which rejects every hereditary claim of individuals, to admit an hereditary superiority of races? At this time, the claim is but a pretext for covering and justifying unjust usurpation and unbounded ambition. So he's saying that the claim is but a pretext. Now, pretext, it's an excuse for kind of exaggerating the truth or just flat out lying, but it's an excuse. So he's saying that Mexico is inferior, or that saying that the United States is better than Mexico, is just an excuse for justifying or saying that they have a good reason. But he's saying, so they're trying to justify this, but he's saying it's unjust. Unjust usurpation. It's unfair, and again, usurpation. Unjust seizing of power. So it's an unfair taking power. An unbounded, so uncontrolled ambition. Ambition is when you really want to work, or you want something, and so you work for it. You do whatever you can to get it. And sometimes that can be a good thing, sometimes it can be a bad thing. I guess, especially if it's unbounded or uncontrolled. Let's look at the next paragraph. Among ourselves, the most ignorant, the most inferior, either in physical or mental faculties, is recognized as having equal rights, and he has an equal vote with anyone, however superior to him in all those respects. This is founded on the immutable principle that no one man is born with the right of governing another man. So among ourselves, among the United States, the most ignorant, so the most uneducated, ignorant. The most inferior, so the person, again, inferior means someone who's beneath you. And it says either in physical or mental faculties. So physical is like physically inferior, physically weaker, or mentally weaker, so brain power. So he says even among ourselves, doesn't matter who's inferior, whether physically or mentally, is recognized having equal rights. So regardless of how smart someone is or how strong someone is, they're supposed to have equal rights. And he has an equal vote with anyone, however superior to him in all respects. So again, it doesn't matter how much stronger someone is or how much smarter someone is, everyone has that equal vote and the equal rights. This is founded on the immutable. Again, immutable means does not change. So this principle is an idea. So this unchangeable idea, this idea that does not change, that no one man is born with the right of governing another man. So no one man should have power over another man. So you guys are going to answer that question. So we've gone over this paragraph by paragraph. Citing text evidence. How does Gallatin use logic and inference to make those who want to take Mexico's land appear to be against democracy and un-American? So you have to write down a quote. Like he says this. What specifically does he say? And look through it again, read it again. To make it appear that to take land from Mexico would be against democracy and un-American. What specifically does he say that makes it look bad for the United States to take land from Mexico? So what line supports that? What quote supports that? It can be a few words. It can be a sentence. That's your choice. So look through it again. All right. So make sure when you answer it, make sure you mention it's the question for page 406. So let's look on to the other side. This is from a different point of view. Because again, we're looking at points of view. Now this is from John O'Sullivan. Here we have a picture. Texans celebrate as Texas becomes the 20th state in December 1845. Here we have one of the vocabulary words, proffered, and that means to present for acceptance. So it's basically like offered. If someone offers you something, then you can say yes or no. So they're offering something to you. So that's proffered. And what else? We'll come back to this question in just a moment. Again, we're going to read through it more than once. I'll read through it straight through, and then we'll break it down. Texas is now ours. Already before these words are written, her convention has undoubtedly ratified the acceptance by her Congress of our proffered invitation into the Union. The next session of Congress will see the representatives of the new young state in their places in both our halls of national legislation, side by side with those of the old 13. Other nations have undertaken to intrude themselves into the question of Texas. They have come between us and the proper parties to the case, in a spirit of hostile intervention against us, for the avowed object of thwarting our policy and hampering our power, limiting our greatness, and checking the fulfillment of our manifest destiny to overspread the continent allotted by Providence for the free development of our yearly multiplying millions. So let's take a look at determining meaning. Who was O'Sullivan referring to when he wrote that other nations have come between us and the proper parties to the case? Who is us, and who are the proper parties? So let's go through this again. Texas is now ours. So Texas belongs to us now. Already before these words are written, her convention has undoubtedly ratified the acceptance. So ratified means to approve by her Congress of our proffered invitation to the Union. So we've offered Texas to join the United States, the Union. So he's saying that, of course, they're going to join, and we're just waiting for the official word. The next session of Congress will see the representatives of the new young state in their places in both our halls of national legislation, side by side with those of the Old 13. So remember, each state has members of Congress. So now that they're going to add Texas, for the next session of Congress, when Congress meets again, they're going to see representatives from Texas, the young state, in the halls of legislation. Remember, Congress is our legislative branch, and so legislation means making laws. So Congress makes laws. That's what they do. And so you're going to see people representing Texas in Congress, in the legislation, side by side with those of the Old 13. Hopefully you know that the Old 13 references the original 13 states in the United States. So he's saying Texas will now join them. Representatives from Texas will now join the original 13, the Old 13. So he's saying Texas is going to be part of the United States. It's just got to go through this process. Other nations have undertaken to intrude themselves into the question of Texas. So he's saying other nations, other countries have tried to get involved into the question of Texas, get involved in this issue. They have come between us and the proper parties to the case in a spirit of hostile intervention against us. So hostile means kind of like an attack. It's not nice. Intervention, so they're trying to interfere. They're trying to mess with this addition of Texas.